At least we made it to Tuesday, right? Suffered through Monday, Drew. We're here on Tuesday. No NFL today, and last night was a fantastic game to watch. I don't know about you guys, but I enjoyed it. Steelers magically pulled out the win. I thought they were host. I thought they were host, man. I thought the Dolphins were going to win that. What did you think? You can't tell me you didn't think the Dolphins had a chance in that one when you saw how Mason Rudolph came out and started playing.
Oh, no, I totally thought the Dolphins won that game. I think it comes into the fact, I don't want to get into it because we have a game to talk about before then.
Fantastic.
But I just think it just shows that Mason Rudolph is not as good as some people think.
Ian, let us know your thoughts. I know you were saying the Steelers were going to win that, and you turned out to be right. But let me tell you, I was doubting the boys. Going into halftime, I was doubting that the Steelers were going to pull it off. Ugly play from both teams, but you're right. We do have another game to talk about. Guys, we're talking about Sunday and Monday Night Football from last week. We're also going to talk about all these trades going on by the deadline. Are they good moves? Who wins? Who loses? We're going to go through all of that. Andy Dalton bench. Trent Williams ending his holdout. We've also got the Ncaa saying players are now allowed to profit off of their likenesses. A lot of change. A lot of news coming out on a Tuesday. I'm happy for it. And anything else you guys want to talk about, feel free. Let us know. We'll talk about that too. First, let's start with the Chiefs. Let's start with the Chiefs and the Packers.
Let's do it.
How surprised were you that they came out and put up that much of a fight?
Not surprised. Remember, I picked him.
I did. I do remember that.
To be honest with you, John, glad you're here. He says, embrace the tank, fellas.
Cincy, are the Dolphins embracing the tank? If they're dangerously close to beating some of these teams, you're going to mess up the draft pick. And then you're going to wind up with like the third or fourth or fifth best quarterback. And that's game over, John. I don't know. I think I remember you being a Dolphins fan. That's tough, man. That is 100% tough. I think you're better off losing this game than you are having Ryan Fitzpatrick go in and win you 3 games this season and missing your quarterback.
And Ian's saying, so you didn't waste 3 hours, like you said, Jacob. He wasn't happy with the first half, but it is a W. So,
it is.
So
it is. It's never a waste when I'm watching pro football. Well, that was dangerously close to a waste, but it wasn't. I watched the whole thing. It wasn't a total waste. Let me just say the game could have been better, right?
Yeah, and just hang out for a little bit, man. Let's get through the Chiefs and Packers game real quick, and we'll definitely get the Dolphins and Steelers game as quick as we can. No, it doesn't really surprise me. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are littered with talent. I think there's no doubt about it. This team is talented beyond Patrick Mahomes. But there's no doubt about it. He's the key to that offense. He is the guy that ignites that offense. As well as Matt Moore played, it wasn't anything extremely explosive where you're like, oh no, watch out, Matt Moore's out there. Losing Patrick Mahomes for even 1 game, 3 games, whatever it comes out to be, is a significant loss. I can only hope that through all this, as soon as he's ready to play, that this defense can keep playing the way they did. Because the way it looked starting that game when it was 14-0, I said, oh man, this is a blowout.
Yeah.
And I was not excited to watch the rest of this game at all, by any means.
Then again, you have your backup quarterback come in, throw for 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. That's a good day. That's a really good day. There's a lot of quarterbacks that's their good days, right? They come in and throw for 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, don't turn the ball over.
Right.
That's a great day for him.
He played well.
I think part of it, you're right, they did get off to a slow start, but a lot of that's jitters. That's not always something uncommon when you got a guy coming off the bench This might be his last chance. This might be Matt Moore's last chance to make an impact in the NFL. If he comes out and lays a goose egg on Sunday Night Football, the Chiefs could very well decide that they need another backup quarterback and go trade for someone before the deadline. They could have been Andy Dalton. It could have been Marcus Mariota. There were guys available that I think if Matt Moore would have come out and just totally flopped,
yeah, they
would have at least considered throwing a 5th or 6th or 7th round pick to try to acquire someone to just tide them over until Mahomes comes back.
Bees is saying he would rest Mahomes next week too. Our division is weak. I still don't think it's worth giving up any games if he's ready to play. I get the whole, if he's injured, you don't want him playing and get hurt worse, but this guy seems to be able to just bounce back so far from these. Even an 80% Patrick Mahomes is better than 100% Matt Moore at this point.
My point, though, don't risk the re-injury. If he is 80%, sit him the extra week. Even if he says, I'm 100%, I'm ready to go, sit him a week, and then let him play after that. Wait till he says, Coach, I'm 100%, I'm ready. Say, one more, Patrick. Because guys always tell you they're ready to go, right? No, everybody wants to play.
I actually think this was this week that you got that.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes is like, I could play.
Yeah.
And that's why it took so long for them to go, okay, dude, you're not playing.
It could be. It definitely could be. But again, why rush him? Like you said, the division is total crap behind you. The Chargers, stole a win from the Bears this week. If they don't get that, there's no chance. I know the Raiders hung with the Texans. Maybe they have a chance to hang around, but I don't think they're good enough to challenge the Chiefs. You look at Denver, I get it. Everyone's saying Denver's had some good games here lately. Maybe the defense has stepped up, but how far is this team going? There's talk now that Joe Flacco is out injured after he made all those critical comments of his head coach and the play calling towards the end of the game. Magical how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris says, fun fact, the playoffs were to start today. The Colts would go the second seed. He doesn't see the Colts getting the second seed at the end of the season. Where do you see?
He says he doesn't see the Colts not getting the second seed. So he's saying they're going to get it.
I'm sorry. So that's what I meant.
Over the Chiefs? Over the Patriots? Which one falls off?
Where do you actually see the Colts laying?
It depends. I think it depends on how Houston finishes the year out. I think it depends on how they match up with the rest of the division because, again, they played a lot of close games and they've got a lot of close wins. Does that hold up? I still think they're a good team. They're a much better team than I thought they were going to be, and I think a lot of it's still mentality wins, that they're coming in wanting to win more than some of these other teams, and that has helped them. It's also been very conservative play out of Jacoby Brissett, not making the mistakes that a lot of quarterbacks have made this year. They're not the second-place team. They might get it, especially if Mahomes sits out, as long as I'm saying sit him out for. I don't think it matters quite as much, but they could get it in that scenario. If they get a healthy Mahomes back, though, I think the Chiefs keep winning. I know they have the tiebreaker since they beat them in heads-up, but realistically, I'd have to look at the rest of the Colts schedule. I know they play the Titans again. I'm pretty sure they play Houston and Jacksonville one more time each. I just don't see this team being good enough to run the gauntlet. Not all the way to the end of the season. And I know I've been down on them, and you can doubt me or whatever. You can say, I've said that before, and they've got this far. I just don't see them as a strong enough team to go run the gauntlet and keep up with a team with a healthy Mahomes and Tom Brady who's cruising right now. And the Bills. Let's not forget the Bills are there. So even if the Patriots fall off, the Bills could theoretically get back on their horse and win that division and steal a bye still. They've still got a great record.
Michael, what happened to Kansas City is Patrick Mahomes is down with an injury. That's all I got to say about that one. Tyler says, save Mahomie. And Ian says, Kansas City should pick up Le'Veon Bell. I think.
Well, they missed their chance.
I think the
trade deadline was this afternoon.
I think their price would be way too high for the Kansas City Chiefs. Michael also says that Mahomes is a tough player and he'll come back in Kansas City and will start winning again.
But it's not about being tough, I don't think. I totally agree with that. He's a tough guy. I think athletically, he's a freak of nature that he just dislocated his knee, and we were talking about him maybe playing the week after. But you got to look at it from like a game theory perspective and say, do I really need him out there to win games? I mean, we were talking about the Packers being a top 5 team, and we hung with them with Matt Moore. So obviously we've got something going on, whether you want to call it the game plan, whether you want whatever you want to call it. Even though the defense is giving up yards, they step up in big moments. This is still a good team even without Patrick Mahomes. Why are you going to risk him and have to go and play without him if something does happen to him again? I say throw these games out. Take your chances with him. If you lose 2 more, again, none of these other teams are really a threat in your division. You're going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just get them there healthy. Get to the finish line.
Justin says, go Pack, go. Man, if Mahomes is playing that game, I don't think Green Bay walks out with a win. I honestly don't.
Someone forgot to silence his phone.
God. And now we have to fight.
Yeah, right? All right, we'll keep going. A couple more of these comments. John said it was that was his first game going to the Dolphins versus Steelers, and he said he got to see them lead and then lose. That's tough, man. But, like I said, bright side. And you were saying embrace the tank. I'm with you. This was the best result you could have had because Cincinnati doesn't look like they're going to win unless you believe in Ryan Finley. Is Ryan Finley the answer? We'll talk about him in a little bit, but long and the short of it is no. They're going to be drafting a quarterback when they have a top 1, 2, 3 pick. If you win this game, I know they play Week 16, but you could throw away your choice of quarterback. There's no reason to win here.
Yeah. No doubt about it. James says New Orleans defense. Wow. I agree, man. I think that's the reason why that they won so many games without Drew Brees. I don't want to take anything away from Bridgewater, but that defense definitely stepped up 100%. There's no doubt about it. If you are a Saints fan, James, I don't know if you are or not, you should be totally excited. This team, I've been saying since the beginning of this offseason, they are built to win the Super Bowl. They have a good chance this year. And
Tyler's saying, let's not turn Mahomes into a Cam Newton or an RG3. I'm 100% with you on that one. Let's finish talking about this game, Drew. How big of a win is this for the Packers?
Oh, it's big. I mean, you took out one of, the AFC's, in a sense, powerhouses in their field. It kind of just shows you that this team is ready to go far into the playoffs. Justin, I know you're giving me a hard time saying, but he didn't play. You should be proud of him. And not even that, again,
That fadeaway throw from Rodgers to the back corner of the end zone, that was magic.
That was
a Mahomes throw. Let me say that. No,
that's just Aaron Rodgers. We said during the offseason, we praise everything that this team did during the offseason to work on their defense. I love both the Smiths move, bringing them in there. They are making a world of a difference for this team, and that was my last point. I love that you brought it up. Is you have a great defense when you have Aaron Rodgers doing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to watch. To be honest,
did I not just silence my phone like 2 seconds ago?
Dude, what is wrong with you?
I'm off my game, Drew. That's all right. We'll keep going.
Even though my team lost, that game was so good to watch. Just watching that team, either one of these teams, they make it to the Super Bowl. They both deserve it, but definitely the Packers and the way that they performed, they're a fun team to watch.
I agree. Everyone doubted Matt LaFleur in his signing. That offense is rolling. He's got it working. He's doing his job. I said before in the offseason, I thought it was a great hire. I'm not going to tell you he was the better coach than Andy Reid. It wasn't anything like that. But to have him refiring an offense that's been struggling in the past couple of years, even with Aaron Rodgers, it was a good signing. I think so, at least.
Scott says, Kansas City without Mahomes is a different team.
But still won in the fight. I don't.
Meaning what? Just that it's just like
the game plan is different.
I was bringing up that the offense is not explosive, but man, I think the team just stepped up. Maybe that's what you mean. The team's just stepping out Mahomes. It's like the next person up. I'm kind of interested what you think of, Scott, why you say that.
A couple more. Tyler says, let's not forget that the Pack has been a dumpster fire for the past 4 years. True, and they've had a couple things go right? Matt LaFleur just ran the 28th best offense in the NFL last year. The offense is clicking in Green Bay. They just went out and bought a defense. How many times have we seen teams try to do that, where they just throw money at a problem and say, oh, that'll fix it, and it doesn't work? It's worked for Green Bay. They've done a good job of... A lot of stuff just come together for them, whether it's defense, offense, scheme working, guys stepping up like Valdez-Scantling when he needs to. Imagine this team with Davante Adams. That's another big injury we haven't talked about here. Missing Davante Adams for this Packers team. I know we're saying maybe Patrick Mahomes changes that result. Maybe Davante Adams kind of flips it. We talk about this being a fair fight again. I don't know. Both of these teams haven't been healthy yet. Both these teams still look like they can beat anyone in the NFL on any given week.
Dad, I'm glad you could join us. He says, go KC, and the rage comes right in and goes, go Pack, go. We got plenty of Packer fans in here. Justin, for sure other players stepped up. To be honest with you, I don't want to take anything away from the Packers, but, man, the way that defense played, the way he put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that's how you beat the Packers. It's exactly like what the Chiefs did. Just unfortunately for the offensive side of the ball, they couldn't get back on the field. Even though if they would have, after Andy Reid decided to punt the ball, would it made a difference? I don't really know. Your guys' defense, not even your defense, your team in general is playing really well. And you could arguably say...
The offensive line, it seems like it's fixed some of these problems.
And you could arguably say your second best player on the whole team is not there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, Davante Adams is what I'm getting at.
And he's great. Don't get me wrong. He could be the second best player. But have you seen the Williams brothers out there?
Have you seen Blake Martinez?
I know. Everybody's stepped up.
But my point is just you're doing it.
Even Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. They both showed up in like different weeks, but they both showed up. It's pretty rare to see both of them together. But they both had a good game this week. Again, Pack are dangerous. Chiefs are dangerous. Not breaking news there. I'm not. That's not anything new. Everyone knows that. Let's talk about the Steelers and Dolphins real quick, and then we'll talk about something else. But just to round this out, Drew, again, the Steelers, Mason Rudolph looked terrible. I think we all know that he's not the answer. They need Big Ben to come back. Are there any Steelers fans? I know a lot of people were saying maybe Mason Rudolph is taking over. That's why they weren't afraid to trade Josh Dobbs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's why, even though Big Ben has talked about retirement, they put a lot of faith in Mason Rudolph. They spent a decent pick on him. I think it was a third-round pick. Are we past all that? Is it time to get another next guy, or is this just the team not playing well and Mason Rudolph not being able to capitalize? I'm going to reload while you answer that.
To be honest, I'm not 100% how to answer that. How I do want to answer it is saying, Deo, I'm glad you could join us. He said Big Blue 5-2. Man, going back to Steelers. What I saw, that first part of it, where the Miami Dolphins went up 14-0, and the Packers slowly got themselves back into it. And I know the game ended 27-14. If Miami just had a smidge of talent, like more talent than what they have now,
like Minka Fitzpatrick out there,
almost anybody offensively and defensively, I don't think the Steelers would have fought back and got this game. I think Miami is in the whole tanking scenario. It's at some point in time these players aren't playing anymore for to win. They're just playing for their next job in a sense, and it's so hard to keep that going. As far as the Steelers go, it's almost the same scenario, but the Steelers have so much more pride in their organization, their team, their coach than what the Miami players have to give to their team.
Are they tanking on purpose? We just saw them lead Buffalo into the fourth quarter. We just saw them lead into halftime with the Steelers. Is there potentially that tank kind of mentality going on, but maybe it's the front office saying, look, Brian, we've got your back. And I said this about Steve Wilkes, and he got fired after 1 year. Brian, we've got your back. Talking about Brian Flores for the Dolphins head coach. Just throw it away because we need a new quarterback. This team is, they're stacking up on picks. They're trading away everybody off this team. Kenyon Drake's gone. They traded their left tackle to Houston, Laramie Tunsil. They traded Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Steelers for a first-round pick. Kenny Stills also in that trade. They are loading up on picks. The rebuild is 100% on. What incentive do you have to win? I understand the whole pride in the organization and we win games and setting a mentality. A lot of these guys aren't going to be on the roster soon.
Right. And I think that's why you don't see Miami playing a solid 3 hours. It's just because there's no guarantee what Brian Flores is going to do or if Brian Flores is going to be there. As far as the Steelers go, I don't really see them doing any coaching changes this year.
Well, we talked about that, and then Mike Tomlin's supposedly on the hot seat again. Mr. I've never had a losing season. I wish my coach had never had a losing season.
Yeah, but they never had an issue with Ben Roethlisberger not being there.
True. That is true. Big Ben's been relatively healthy for his entire thing. You've got a 2-time winning Super Bowl quarterback. I don't know, Drew. I don't think it's right to say Tomlin needs to be on the hot seat. You're talking about a second and third string quarterback taking meaningful snaps for most of your season. It's not on the coach. It's just injury.
Ian says, I wanted Hodges to come in, but I still believe in Mason. It took a half, but start firing on defense. I think Hodges is... I think that's who you should have started with. I don't even think it should be he should have came in. I think he should have started. That's just my opinion.
I don't think either one of them is particularly great. I know Hodges had a good, half. But we've seen Mason Rudolph have a good half before. This isn't totally new. I think this whole team just needs an overhaul. This whole offense, they need receiving weapons. They need someone better than James Conner. And I know Steelers fans like James Conner. They say he's a good enough back. I disagree. I don't think James Conner's good enough to get you where you need to go. He's not an elite running back like Le'Veon Bell was. He's lived in his shadow forever. They need new offensive linemen as well. They need a new quarterback, in my opinion. Even though Big Ben might come back, eventually you're going to have to figure out what comes next. I don't think either of these guys are the answer. This is just a team that has been so good for so long that eventually you decay. Eventually you can't keep it up. And now we've finally reached that point, especially losing Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. They don't have the talent pieces on offense to win any game. Realistically. I get it, they beat the Dolphins, but most games, they're going to be outgunned on offense. And in today's NFL, you don't get away with that.
Kenny, good to see you. Thomas says, let Tomlin keep building the team, and Ian says, Tomlin is fine. He just re-signed for years. And Justin says, should they go to a lottery system?
No. I mean, we haven't seen tanking be anywhere near as rampant in the NFL as it is in basketball. Basketball, if you don't have a good, first 20 games, you start thinking about it.
Yeah.
You're like, we're 7 and 13. Maybe it's time we start throwing it away. The problem I don't like with the lottery is you can have teams like Cleveland from back in the day that win the first overall pick multiple times. And usually in the NFL, when you get the first overall pick, they don't always work out. But you've got your pick of the litter, you're usually going to get a good player.
I don't see it happening just how short the jobs are in the NFL where... you see, just like Wilkes getting fired after 1 year, you see turnover in coaches and turnover in players so quickly. When you sit there and you tank like that,
it's a great question, though.
It is, but when you sit there and tank like that, you get kind of that put onto your shoulders. Do you think Steve Wilkes is going to find another job anytime soon as a head coach?
No,
he might never.
No, yeah, that might have been his only chance.
And how unfair is that?
Yeah,
I mean, we don't even know what he could have been, but because now you kind of had that put on you where it's like you weren't good enough to keep one team happy for longer than even a year. I mean,
No, that's totally fair. I totally agree.
Teams don't want to do that. GMs don't want to do that. Players don't want to do that. And there's a lot of pride for it. This is the NFL. This isn't the XFL. This is the AAF. This is the Canadian League. This is the prime jewel of football that everyone strives to be in and be part of. And when you get a chance, the last thing you want to do is go out there and look terrible. Even if you're doing it for a draft pick. Because guess what? One draft pick doesn't change teams.
Well, in the NBA it can, and that's why I think the lottery works for them. But again, in the
Right,
NFL, you have high turnover too.
Yeah.
You have high turnover in the NFL, and this will be my last point here. You have a lot of guys that come in and out. I think they said somewhere around 20% of your team usually turns over in the NFL on any given year. So to go and punish a team by saying, yeah, you had a bad year, but we're going to give you pick 6 or pick 7 because that's what you drew in a random draw, I really don't think that's the answer. It works in some sports like basketball where one guy can change the organization, but I don't think it really works in football where you could have like imagine it was a team that had the 10th pick that goes up to number 1, because that happens sometimes. You can get those real long shot odds that just pans out. They can go from being decent to going drafting Myles Garrett and all of a sudden they're a playoff team. I don't think the NFL wants those kind of swings based on who pulled the right lottery ball, who pulled the right ping pong ball out of the bin.
Right.
Now, Gabby says she loves us. We love you too, Gabby. We're glad you're with us.
Kenny, don't be sorry. It's okay. And no, you did not tell me.
You got to read the thing for everyone on the podcast too, Drew. Kenny said, sorry about the Chiefs, Drew, but we told you. And guess what?
I don't.
Pretty sure Kenny and I told you it wasn't going to happen.
Read that comment.
You had the lead, Drew. Not really the lead, but you were catching up.
We had the lead.
For the week, you had the lead.
Oh.
And you threw it away on the Chiefs. You threw it away on Matt Moore. You had to know Aaron Rodgers is better than Matt Moore, right? You know what the NFL is.
I just can't wait for the Titans to lose, and I'm going to record you and post it on our page.
I'm ready.
Everyone can see.
It's the afternoon games. Usually I can cool off when I play at noon and we lose. I cool off. I'm like, I'm good now. It's fine. When it's an afternoon game and I have to do the show right after they lose.
They have seen me right after the AFC Championship game where we lost. That's how depressed I get. I soak it in alcohol.
Couple more comments, then we'll move on. Will says, let's start firing and finding these refs. Can I get an amen? Again, do you remember the replacement refs? I know they've been bad this year, but this is part of an NFL directive where after the Saints debacle last season, they said, we need to start calling more penalties. We would like it because teams are complaining. That's why they're being so ticky-tacky. That's why we're seeing all these missed calls. I think, again, the NFL just needs to revert back to where they were. Yes, there was a bad call in the NFC Championship, but you can't ruin the league because somebody made a bad call one time in that last system. Also, like I said, do you remember what the replacement refs look like? Do you remember how terrible that is? If you fire these guys, who's calling all of these games? Me, reasonably, because they pay those guys a lot of money. And just wait till I get out there. The Colts will never win again.
I disagree with finding and firing. I think... I know we all know this, but what you got to think about is these guys are watching this in real life. They don't have the luxury of multiple views. They don't have the luxury of slowing it down and seeing where it goes. They're calling it on just their best ability of what they saw. Like the face mask or hands to the face call. Even though it's hitting high up in the neck, when you're looking at the backside of the player and you see his head jolt back and you're the closest ref to it, you call the flag. It's the other refs around it that saw it from the front side that should redirect that flag and say, no, that didn't happen, or no, this is what happened. So where do you find and what do you find a certain ref when it's the whole entire team that's getting it wrong?
Right.
That's the issue. So when you start finding the whole entire roster of refs and start firing all the refs, you got a great point. It goes right back to the refs that aren't supposed to be in there, and they're the ones doing Pee Wee League. It sounds great because everyone's upset and so mad about it, but
it's like when a guy has a bad week and you're like, cut him, get rid of him right now, fire him, and then you're like, who's going to play quarterback for us right now in the NFL? Is Matt Castle coming out of retirement?
Work. Yeah, it doesn't work.
James says the NFL stands for not for long. Absolutely right. Going back to what we were talking about before, 100%. The NFL, it could change any given week. You could take one bad play, and that could be it for you. Deo says no lottery in the NFL. I'm with you on that, even though I think it works for other sports with longer seasons to discourage tanking, even though they still do it. I don't think it works for that short of a season. I think most teams try to win 16 games. Reasonably, anyway. Also, Justin said, but in the NBA, you have a team of 5, and one guy can change a lot, so he kind of agrees to that scenario. I'm with you on that. It works in that sport. I don't think it quite works in the other. I'd like to see relegation in the NFL, where some of these bottom-tier teams have to, like, fight to stay in the NFL, and then, like, maybe the losers go to the XFL. I would love for that to happen. That would be great, because
that means
that would kill tanking immediately.
You'd have to share the talent. It'd
and
be
the
almost
picks.
Impossible.
Yes, it would be incredibly impossible to do. But it would be fun to watch. Figure it out. Soccer does it. They're the only ones who do. Figure it out.
Yeah, but they also have the whole world to pick out of players. We really only have America.
And they also throw money at every problem, and the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Exactly. We're not going into soccer right now. Kenny says, we've got some Preds gear displayed on there. He says, Yossi leading the team for 8 years is fine by him. Yes, but at $10 million a year, makes it hard to keep a lot of those mid, second, and third line guys. We're not going into hockey right now, but I love Yossi. I think he's an amazing player, one of the best defenders in the league. Can you give us a deal, Yossi? Can you make it 6.5?
No
not going to happen. I know, he's going to
way.
get paid. We'll see what happens. Also, Justin says, no, for the love of God, do not bring in replacement refs. He speaks for every Packers fan. You speak for every fan. Do you remember when the Lions got screwed by the replacement refs? You remember when just about everybody got screwed by the replacement refs, and you're like, this isn't fun. I'm not having a good time watching the NFL.
It's not that bad now.
No, it's definitely not.
As much
it's
as everyone's so mad.
But it's been worse. It's been a lot worse.
Oh my gosh. It's not that bad.
But that's what I just said.
No,
I'm
it's
agreeing
not
with you.
It's bad.
It is bad.
It's
worse than it's been. It's worse than it's been. You can't tell me it hasn't been.
I don't think it's that bad.
On the graph, we're somewhere down here, but it's been sub-basement at times.
I'm going to use a cuss word. I think people keep bitching about it, which makes it look as bad as it is.
You think
it's
so?
not that bad.
Is this just the
There's a lot of
Snowflake Alert
missed calls
2019?
Throughout the whole... I've watched NFL for years, including you guys, I'm sure have too. You're going to tell me this is the first year where it's, officiating's so terrible. No, there's just more cameras. There's more views to seeing it. And when you see it, everyone wants to throw an uproar about how bad it is. It's always been like this. You got to remember, this is human error that makes this game as good as it is. Is it frustrating? Oh, yeah, it is. Being a Chiefs fan, I've been let down many times by the refs. But so far, there is no cheating. There's no allegations of the Patriots paying the refs. Even though everyone does the whole, like, oh, look, he's patting him on the butt. But no, there isn't anything like that until that comes.
Except for the Patriots.
Until that happens, guys, it's frustrating as it can be, especially when it happens to your team. But wait, it will go the other direction, and you'll be happy with it. It's just,
or you'll be like me in that Tampa game, and you're like, I don't see the problem. But like, it's fine, right? Everyone's saying Tampa got screwed in that game, and except for the Brett Kern fumble that should have been returned for a touchdown, I was like, I didn't think it was that bad. The thing I remember is Shaq Barrett being about 8 miles off sides on the first play, and they're like, don't worry, it's just Ryan Tannehill. Go ahead and kill him.
We'll give you guys another flag later on down the road.
Well, it was the next play. He did the same thing.
That happens a lot.
Also, Deo says...
feel bad. We're sorry.
We missed that one. That's on us. Deo says, even with terrible officiating, could not help the Titans beat the Colts. It was 19-17 in week 2, and Marcus was our starter. Are you that good of a team?
It's better than the Titans.
Really? You were just the one telling me the Titans are trash. 19-17 with our now backup quarterback. Just say it.
No,
just say it. I don't know that. I'm just telling you. I think I could swing it. I do. With Deo, I think I could swing it. Believe me, it would be raining yellow every time the Colts step out of the field. Phantom false starts, phantom holds. Titans get it done if I was in the field leading a ref crew.
Will says he thinks he's the only Buck fan that's standing behind Winston. Yes.
Yes, I think you're the only person anywhere standing behind Jameis Winston.
You might want to get some 2x4s because he's going to fall over.
And I don't know why. I don't. Again, I like the Buccaneers. They're my NFC team. If you want to, if I had to pick one. Did you see the 6 turnovers he really should have turned over? And I mean, we're talking about like hair's breadth, where like the ball just barely scraped the ground before Malcolm Butler had it, and Logan Ryan had the ball in his arms and then just dropped it. 6 turnovers is unsustainable in the NFL.
Yeah.
As a team, 6 turnovers is unsustainable. You as a single person cannot turn the ball over 6 times and stick around in the NFL. Does not happen. It's time to move on.
He said the Colts beat the Chiefs with Mahomes. Yes, they did. Scott says...
That was their Super Bowl. The Chiefs, it was week 6.
Scott says he doesn't think it's that bad either. Outside of a few defensive holding calls, seems like there's...
Offensive holding's been worse.
He says it seems like there's more defensive holding this year.
And the Saints got screwed against the Rams, if you remember, with a fumble recovery that they didn't.
I think it's
you
because
remember that
they're
one too.
also trying
There's
to
been stuff,
clarify what's defensive holding and what's pass interference. I think there's
and holding's been there too. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they're trying to decide what that is. If you're talking about offensive holding has always been a fluke because there's holding on every play in the NFL. Every play.
Beat the Chiefs, lost to the Raiders, Dale. That's all I can say. But that's okay. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. They just got to find the equilibrium. We got to find the balance.
Deo says Winston needs to go to Chicago, and Bees,
no,
is not okay with it.
Oh,
he's better than Trubisky.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Because, well, let me think about it. Because Trubisky's not moving the ball. Winston can move the ball. He's going to turn it over, but the Bears' defense is good.
He'll give you 3 touchdowns, but he'll just give you 3 interceptions, too.
Do they go for 6? Because if the Bears' defense has a chance to keep those to field goals, I'm going to say yeah. Go with Winston.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I changed my mind. Go with Winston over Trubisky. How about that?
At this point, Jesus.
Then again, Matt Nagy might have Winston out there throwing for 112 yards a game, and this turnovers stick there. I don't know. We'll keep it right on rolling. Deo says the Titans get a ring talking about the Super Bowls. Man, I'm not sure where you're going with that, but yeah, we suck. We're not going to the Super Bowl anytime soon. I agree with you there. James also says he just wants consistency from the refs. I'm with you. We need to figure out what holding is. We need to figure out what defensive holding is. We need to figure out when the ball is fumbled and when I need to whistle a play.
Yeah.
I think they're confused because I think they got different instructions. It's like when your boss comes down and tells you, hey, I know you've done your job like this and it's worked and we had one incident and I'm going to come in here and tell you to do everything different.
Scott says the refs are damned if they do, damned if they don't. That's why
we're always going to complain.
That's why you don't fine them, and that's why you don't fire them. I'm sorry, you just don't. It's one of the toughest jobs in the world. Kenny, no one wants to hear Jake's thoughts on what happens with a quarterback for the Titans between now and next season.
Except Kenny.
Also, what's your opinion for what we do? No one wants to hear that. So we're going to move on. Deo said, what about...
No, Kenny's got a point. We'll go through it real quick.
Does he have a point?
He does. A good one. Great question.
Hands who don't want to talk about the Titans.
I see 20 people still in here, so we're good. I don't even know if that's true. Last time I said 850. But since you asked me a Titans question, I will give you a Titans answer. It depends on what our draft pick looks like. If we struggle for the rest of the season, if Indy and Jacksonville and Houston all crush us towards the end of the season, and we have the Saints too, and the Panthers and the Chiefs, we already wasted our easy games. We lost a bunch of those. If we go on a massive losing streak and we get a good pick, it's time to draft somebody regardless of what Ryan Tannehill looks like in those losses. If you get up towards the top and you reasonably have a chance to trade up and get someone like Herbert or someone like Tua and you love those guys, you go and take them. More than likely, the Titans are going to find their way to 7 to 8 to 9 wins, not make the playoffs, and not have a good enough pick to go out and get a quarterback. You sign Tannehill to a $15 to $20 million contract, and then you spend the rest of that money that's saving you, not paying someone like Dak Prescott 42 to buff up the rest of this team, specifically the offensive line. We need another edge rusher. And realistically, you're going to need to replace Deion Lewis when they cut him this offseason.
Yeah. It looks like no one wanted to.
It's probably going to be Tannehill. It's probably going to be Tannehill. A couple more. Bees says, hey guys, where do the Bears go from here? He wants to hear both of our takes. Where do the Bears go from here? Play better and make the playoffs. That's where the Bears go from here. Because has there been a bigger underachiever than the Chicago Bears this year? They have been the San Diego Chargers, LA Chargers, whatever you want to call them, of the NFL this year. As in, I believed in them. Everyone believed in the hype. And what we're seeing is not what we should be getting.
Kenny, don't shut up, man. I'm giving you a hard time. By all means, keep asking away. This is what it's about.
And we just went from 20 to 12, so
because
obviously no one wanted to talk
about
Titans.
the Titans. That's what I said to you. Anyways, as far as the Bears go, I know a lot of people are throwing Trubisky under the bus, and I was joking around about taking Winston, even though I think it would be an upgrade at this point. I don't think you can put it on Trubisky. I mean, the Bears knew what they were taking with a guy that didn't have a lot of starts in college. They went over, and you could sit there and say, oh, they took him over Mahomes, they took over Watson. Regardless of how you look at it, this is their guy from now until they draft somebody else. They need to figure out what works best for him. If Matt Nagy is supposed to be this just a genius of an offensive mind, he needs to be able to take his quarterback and take his own playing book and throw it in the trash and sit there and talk to this young quarterback and go, okay, what works best for you? Because this is year 3. This is supposed to be when you saw improvement. And so far what we've seen, it's not improvement. Can you blame all Trubisky? Yeah, you probably can. But those great coaches out there take the quarterbacks, what they have, and they make the best of what solution
of the situation.
They have.
I mean, we haven't had change. We haven't had a rollover.
And that's the issue. And I think more of it's on Matt Nagy than it is Trubisky. Because, again, when you take a player that has barely played and expect him to be your starter after, what was it, week 5, his rookie year, you got to adapt the game around him, and that's something that Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears have not done so far, in my opinion.
I think they had Titan syndrome when they thought they were a better team than they are. They thought it'd be easy. Like, we're good. We're going to be fine. And I'm not even pinning this on the defense. I think it's the offense because they had a lot of success last year. They weren't the best unit out there, but they had a lot of success. They kept a lot of the same pieces. The offensive line didn't change much. They did roll over at running back. Jordan Howard is gone, but they underutilized him last year anyway. You still got Tariq Cohen. You brought in Dave Montgomery and Mike Davis to kind of replace that. You still got Allen Robinson. You still got all the same receivers. When I look at the Chicago Bears, this is just not being mentally in the right state to win games. And they won some close ones, and I don't think Mitch Trubisky's a great player. I was telling you last year, pump the brakes on him. When everyone's saying, oh, Mitch Trubisky's going to be one of the next great quarterbacks, everything else, he's amazing because Chicago's winning. I was like, when I watch him play, he has not been that spectacular. We're starting to see that this year. I think he's better than this, though. Now everyone's saying, fire the guy. Cut him. Get rid of him. It's time to draft a new quarterback. I'm going to tell you, the truth lies in the middle. More often than not, the truth lies in the middle here, where last year everyone was too high on Trubisky. This year everyone's too low on Trubisky. The truth is you probably have somewhere between top end, a 10th best quarterback in the NFL, to 20th. He's going to be in that middle tier, probably somewhere above average by a hair. Until you get that out of him, Chicago's not going to win games. That's where I stand. This is mostly on Matt Nagy not having this team ready and mentally prepared to win, like guys like Frank Reich and John Gruden have done with less talented units.
No doubt. Will is defending Jameis Winston, and with a long quote here, he says,
my question is why?
It's not the problem. He's not the
Let's find out.
He's not the problem. It's the offensive line. Look what happened to David Carr, Ryan Leaf, and even Jamarcus Russell. Those last two names I think you got to take out of there. But if you don't have a line to protect you, you will collapse. Case in point, Andrew Luck. The man retired way too early because he was getting the crap beat out of him. They fixed the problem too late, hence why Jacoby Brissett looks halfway decent. It is not all on Winston. Cut the man some slack.
Well, it's not all on Winston. Tampa Bay has not been a good roster for years. But a lot of it's on Winston, right? At the end of the day, it's still your job to protect the ball.
You got to take Ryan Leaf and Jamarcus Russell out of there.
They were bad to begin with.
They were bad to begin with. I don't throw Jameis
NFL-wise.
Listen, as much as I give Jameis Winston a hard time, I don't think I put them with those two players were Russell and Leaf. They never deserved to be in the league. I think Winston does deserve to be in the league. He just doesn't deserve to be a starter in the league. and to take him first overall, that's the reason why he gets so much harsh criticism, especially from us, is because he's supposed to be the best player in that draft.
Yeah.
And he's not. And that's the reason why it is. As far as the offensive line goes, you can be upset about it, but you got to remember this was just last season. They had the number one passing offense.
You're right. Sure, go ahead.
This guy has proven he can do stats. He can score points. Problem is, he's losing games because when it comes crucial time to not turn the ball over, he turns the ball over and loses the game for his team. And we all know the problem with the Bucs last year was they had no defense. And it's still now you got a little bit of a defense, but he's still turning the ball over, man. You can defend him all you want, but I think it's time to change.
And I'm going to go with Deo here. He says it's all of them. It's a collective. And a lot of that comes from leadership. You had Dirk Cotter have the third best passing offense. They had no offensive line, no running back. They couldn't run the ball, and they fired the guy anyway. That's organizationally flawed. I mean, the defense was absolutely trash, but you had no names on it. Everybody, you don't have anybody on either side of the ball that you're looking at and saying, "Oh, this is going to be great." We have something to build on. You have the passing offense. You have a couple receivers. You have a couple tight ends, and that's it. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick looked better than Jameis Winston at times last year, too. This isn't Jameis Winston. This is, you have a lot of weapons, and anyone that can sling the ball down the field is likely to find somebody open because we have so many guys who can catch the ball. But just having receivers and just having playmakers isn't good enough in today's NFL. You still have to win in the trenches. You still have to play some defense. Tampa can't do that. It's not all Jameis Winston. They're not losing the game because, Jameis Winston is the quarterback, and if this was Matt Stafford, then they would be undefeated or they would be a playoff team or anything like that. But he's making things worse. There are games that they could win that they're losing because James is throwing the game away.
Charo, good to see you. He says, loving Howard and Philly.
When you pick him up for like a 5th round pick, not a bad deal.
Jeremy, good to see you. He says Bruce Arians said that none of those turnovers was Winston's fault.
And Bruce Arians is full of shit. Sometimes you say that to protect your quarterback's ego. The one I can say that what's probably not Winston's fault is the one he threw straight to Malcolm Butler where there was like nobody there. I think he had a miscommunication on an option route with his receiver. He was expecting a down the field route as opposed to the receiver who ran a curl. It's still poorly thrown. If you watch that game, if you look at a lot of those passes, he's thrown it into coverage that shouldn't be there.
Let's talk about some of the NFL news other beyond what's been asked. What about, let's get into Andy Dalton being benched for Ryan Finley. I know we talked a little bit about this, but does this mean...
Just like Detroit, they're giving up.
That they're fully giving up because they're benching who's been their starter for the last almost, 8 years?
8, 9, 7, 8 years? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're giving up, but this is the case of what we need to find out what we have behind Andy Dalton. Ryan Finley might be the next great Cincinnati quarterback, and they now have to figure that out. They're not playing for anything. I don't think this is a tank move per se, where they're like, oh, Andy Dalton might win us a game or two, even though he hasn't played terribly this year. He hasn't been great, but you look at the receivers he's working with, you've never heard of a guy, and then he comes up and has 2 great weeks, and everyone scoops him up in fantasy, hoping it's going to be... I mean, John Ross. I'm drawing a blank on the other 2 guys. Auden Tate. And then you had, it's like Eckler, but it's not Eckler. It's Erickson or whatever it is. Again, I can't even remember. That's how long they're going to be around. Andy Dalton has done a lot with a little. I don't think he's a great quarterback, but he might be the best free agent quarterback in the offseason. If you miss on your quarterback, Andy Dalton might be your next starter. I don't know. I look at the Dolphins, I'm just used to saying that when talking about bad teams. I look at the Bengals. And I say this isn't necessarily about them giving up. It's about them finding out how good is Ryan Finley. But
I would be very interested to see how many teams called and asked about Andy Dalton's availability in a trade. I'd be interested to know that number.
I think the Chiefs should consider it. Again, if Mahomes is going to miss these next couple weeks, would you rather? Well, here's my thing. No, stop. No, I'm really not. Realistically, if you brought in a guy like Andy Dalton, all of a sudden there's no incentive to rush him back out there. Because your offense has been dynamic enough that you plug him in and you can reasonably beat a lot of these teams.
Yeah.
Because you have so many playmakers. That's my point. You now have no incentive to play him. Right now with Matt Moore, you're still like, I'm ready to see Patrick Mahomes come back.
Yeah, but...
I think Andy Dalton could have beaten the Packers.
Depending on what they're asking for.
With the way the rest of the team played?
Too much.
Yes. And you don't overbuy it.
It's not worth it. It's the same thing with Le'Veon Bell.
But should they have called?
I
think you call. You got to ask.
They might have.
Yeah. And that's my point.
We'll trade you Matt Moore right now for Andy Dalton.
We'll give you Matt Moore. I think it was more along the lines of, how about a 5th round pick?
I mean, it could have been.
How about we swap fourths?
I'd be interested to know how many calls the Bengals got.
I am too. I definitely am too. The other, my final point here with Andy Dalton and Ryan Finley is, you're going to have a top 5 pick in Cincinnati, right? Do we all kind of agree that's going to happen? They're totally defeated still. You're going to probably wind up with a 2nd round pick, or the 2nd overall pick when they beat the Dolphins in Week 16. But more than likely, you're going to be top 3, top 4, and this is a supposedly deep quarterback draft. If you look at Jake Fromm, if you look at Justin Herbert, and you look at Tua Tagovailoa, and Jalen Hurts might have his name in there, and there might be a couple other guys that, when we get towards the combine and we get towards draft time, that people say, I want him on my team. He's got the moxie. He's the Carson Wentz that nobody was talking about him when he was at North Dakota State. And then you look at the size and the speed and the combine and the pro workout day, and you're like, could have what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. Go ahead.
Jeremy says they released Andy Dalton, or they released that he was benched, Andy Dalton, this afternoon with
on his birthday.
That the Bengals front office would get some calls. They don't care about that, dude.
Obviously.
They don't care about that.
That means he's out of here at the end of the year. Yes, that's exactly what that means. It could have been yesterday, Drew. They could have got more calls if they would have done it on a Monday.
Kenny says he's so mad he dropped Tevin Coleman. I'm so mad I played him in fantasy for the 1 week he decided to blow up. Go back to being crappy, Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, was this the same guy we saw in Atlanta when he had his big chance?
Yeah, right?
Weird. Finally, for Cincinnati, it doesn't matter how good Ryan Finley is. You're drafting a new quarterback. I think this is semantics. I really do. You got to see what the kid has.
You got to see what he has, yeah.
But this is like, how good is my backup, in my opinion? How do I need to go sign a backup quarterback in the offseason? Because if you get a top 3 pick and you see Justin Herbert, you see Tua Tagovailoa, or you see someone's going to fall for the trap of Jalen Hurts or Jake Fromm, you're going to take him.
Jeremy says he wouldn't draft Tua. His ankles are glass. Now, before you answer anything to this...
Could be.
Before you answer anything to this, does this not just, like, set it up for him to, like, go into the league and have all these doubters and he falls super low and then become a good quarterback? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but he's doing well in college. You know,
at Alabama, no less. And I know that never translates,
I'm just talking about it. You know, he's doing well. He gets banged up. He's going to be like a Todd Gurley, you know.
No, you think I'm disagreeing with you. When I said he's...
In a sense. Like, I'm
right.
just, my point is it's setting up for him to fall to one of these better teams, and then they're going to pick him up because they're like, why not? I need a backup quarterback.
Who, Tua?
I'm just
he's going to be a top 5 pick. He's going to be a top 5 pick. They're going to fall in love with even with the ankle.
Ankles are glass.
Even with the ankle. They're going to fall.
But that's my point.
Hear me out.
Does it not kind of just like feed
Alabama
into that story?
never has great quarterbacks, right? A.J. McCarron, everyone fell in love with, and he was what, a 4th round pick, 3rd round pick, something like that. This is the best quarterback they've had at Alabama in a long time. They're going to fall in love with him. They're going to draft him. It doesn't matter how many injuries he takes. Someone's going to say it's a fluke, and I like what I've seen out of him.
I'm sorry, this is funny, and I don't want to
go ahead.
Interrupt you. Teo says they didn't even know it was Andy Dalton's birthday.
Yeah, they didn't, and that just shows you how terrible of an organization they are.
Thanks, Dale.
Just ridiculous, man.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was too funny to let it go. Yes, Alabama has not pushed great quarterbacks into the NFL.
But I'm saying don't buy that because USC hasn't either, but we're still going to keep taking them.
But this is not just like almost just set that 20 for 20 or 40, whatever is it? 40
30 for 30?
30 for whatever numbers
whatever ESPN
it is.
Does.
Yeah, 20 for 20, 30 for 30. It almost like just, everyone doubted him with these bad ankles. And now look at him. I doubt it's going to happen.
It could be.
I doubt it.
He's going top 5.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Someone will fall in love with him. Someone will trade for him. It's going to happen. And it might be Cincinnati. I understand what you're saying, Jeremy. He's had ankle problems to this point. There have been guys that have had injuries that have come in and overcome that. And again, I don't think it scares a team off. They're going to look at the upside and say, what if he turns into the quarterback that I think he can be? Does it matter that he's gotten hurt? If I can get 3 healthy years out of him and we're good. And that's the way you have to think. You have to think that I'm smart enough that I can build a team, even though Cincinnati, let's just say I've had problems with the way they've built their teams in the past. They have to believe that they can build a team around a guy. They're going to say, it doesn't matter if he's had injury problems. If I get elite level play for 3 years out of his career or 6 years out of his career, we could reasonably win a Super Bowl. You can't go with Ryan Finley next season and let go of Andy Dalton or stick with Andy Dalton when you have this high of a pick and you've been this hungry for quarterback. And I've been saying that Andy Dalton, regardless of what you thought about him, they have no choice but to move on from him when the record's looking like this.
I don't think the Bengals have a chance until the front office changes. And then when I say front office, I really mean ownership. That's what has to change first. Mike Brown needs to be gone. And then you might talk about the Bengals being a legitimate team at some point in time.
When they get a defense and an offensive line.
Well, even if
and
it
some
is,
receivers.
They've had picks. They can't draft well.
Yeah.
They hold on to Marvin Lewis for so long.
Yeah.
This
is the problem with over-conservative.
And then they wait forever to decide who their head coach is.
And quarterback and everything else.
I mean, it's just, they're so behind on everything.
There is a problem being too conservative in the NFL. And this is the most conservative franchise in the NFL.
This is a funny little fact. Before Marvin Lewis took over as the head coach, they had vending machines in the Cincinnati Bengals home team locker room where they were charging players for drinks.
All right, Oakland Athletics.
I mean...
What, like mixed drinks or...
Yeah, probably.
Let me get a rum and Coke before I go out there and get slapped around.
Millions of dollars and you're asking them to give you $1 for a Gatorade?
What? I've seen Andy Dalton throw. I bet you probably is rum and Cokes. He's probably on there having 12 of them before the game.
I'm just saying, this organization is so far behind the times, it's not even funny.
And Dale also says, gotta head out. Y'all give him his top fan badge back. It's because you say go Colts too many times.
Yeah,
I think that's why they took it away.
The issue.
Again, not us guys. We don't do the badges. I'm not like, I haven't heard Deo say something for 2.5 minutes. I'm taking that away. It's all Facebook. It's all out of our hands.
It's actually me.
It's true. Yeah, he's got a big list. And everything you say, if you make a good comment, you go up a level. You make a bad comment, you drop down one. So just saying, Dale. Like I said, too many pro-Colts comments, especially after they beat the Chiefs.
Yep. That's why you lost it.
All right, Jeremy says the Bears are going to trade up for him. They could trade up for a quarterback. Reasonably, they could.
Good.
Shouldn't, but could. And again, who's to say they're not going to be in a position to go and take one of these guys? They've got, what, 3 wins right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 3-5, 3-4. I forget if they've had a bye yet. I think they have. This is I think they're 3-4. They're a team. It's week 8. They're 3-3. They're not 3-3.
They have 2 buys.
Yes, something like that. Look,
I can't do math.
Chicago,
you told me there was no math.
Chicago might have decided to go out and draft a quarterback. It's a bad look to give up on people too early. And I think when you look at what Trubisky did in technically 2 versus year 3 that we're now in, you can't tell me, or is that right?
I don't know.
Or is he a rookie?
I don't know.
You don't do math. That's right. What I will say is it's too early to give up on Trubisky, who just had a good year last year, and this year's been a struggle.
What did you ask me? I wasn't even listening.
That's okay. Jeremy says that was a joke, and the Bears do not have any picks left. It's true, but then again, you could be like the Houston Texans, just mortgage the future. Just kick that can down the road and trade away every first-round pick you could ever have. This is why you got to have This is why you have to have a GM in charge of things, so you don't go and trade 2 first-round picks and like a third for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills.
Well, yes, it is your loyalty. He says, "I get a top fan badge every week. It must be all I do is back my Bucks. Must recognize my loyalty."
It's because the Bucks didn't beat the Titans, or that top fan badge mysteriously is gone. I'm just kidding, Will. But I will say this: we do appreciate the loyalty, and I know Deo's loyal. Like I said, if I recognize your name, if I see you and I'm like, oh, I know who that is, we appreciate you, definitely. And even if I don't, we still appreciate you. But when you're a top fan, and I already know if I know your name, you're already a top fan in my book. How about that?
Aww.
Let me save it. You're not one though.
Yeah, you don't know my name.
You got to go up a little bit. All right, Drew. We'll move on. Trent Williams ends his holdout. What does that mean for the Redskins? Bloody-lutely nothing.
Now, this is their best player on offense.
Okay.
Means nothing.
How many wins?
It means nothing.
How many wins? They should have traded.
They might run a little bit more.
He's 31. You should have traded.
Dude, he's still good.
But he wasn't playing for like 9 weeks. I know he's still good. Get something out of him.
Now he's healthy at 9
And
weeks.
he's an attitude problem. Okay, yeah. After the season's over. Good job. And let's come back next year and see if he's
he was
still
really
good.
hoping he'd be traded. They never were trading him. He's like, screw it.
This is foolish.
I got to go make a paycheck. It was dumb.
There's no way around it. It was
But
foolish.
they should have traded him. But
yeah,
they didn't. Now he's going to make a paycheck.
And I guess props to them for holding out and sticking keeping your great player on your team and not giving in to team pressure.
Oh my God, he's always bringing it back to the Titans. He says not trying to get back on the Titans, Joel, but
you got to do it.
As sports go, hockey and football, Nashville took a big old dump on Tampa Bay this past week.
Yes, they did. Although I look at that game and I'm not like, man, we just killed them. I wouldn't call it a big old dump from the Titans. That was a got away with a win kind of situation. Like every Titans game ever. And
it's
Will,
the refs. The refs.
You knew it was coming in. Will said Tampa got screwed, and I agree.
By the refs.
Tampa got screwed. But you know who else screwed him? The guy you just defended 5 minutes ago, Jameis Winston.
True.
Actually, 30 minutes ago, because we've been talking about this for so long. Jameis Winston screwed him as well. We got to talk trades. Are you ready to talk trades?
Yeah, because I don't think Trent Williams makes that big of a difference. Like I said, he is the best player on offense for the Washington Redskins, but I don't think the offensive line's the issue in Washington. There's way more issues than the offensive line.
A lot of issues.
Frank, good to see you.
Aqib Talib on his way to the Dolphins and a 5th-round pick for a quote-unquote future pick, which means they just sent him away so that the Dolphins would eat this cap. Drew, good move or bad move for either one of these teams? I'm going to go get another beer.
Go ahead and grab me my last one as well. To be honest, this is a subpar move. Miami gets another pick. Rams get a little cap space, but for what? I mean, I don't know where they were on the cap. I know they're tight. But you lose a player that has a rib injury that honestly could come back and play decent ball for you. I don't really know. I don't really know if this was a great move for the Rams. If it was purely because of cap space, there's a lot of things they could do with contracts to create less, like to bring it back down. But if it was like a significant amount of money, to be honest, I should have looked this up. I should have been more up upon this, guys. I apologize. I call it a subpar move. I think it's Miami just constantly just bringing in draft picks.
I'm going to disagree. Yeah, this is Miami saying we get a 5th-round pick to eat some cap. I applaud them for spending money that has nothing to do with making your team better to get a draft pick. They're essentially buying a draft pick here. A lot of cheap owners in the NFL would much rather say, you know what? I'm just going to save that money. I don't want to throw $4.5 million that I'm going to have to wind up paying Aqib Talib here to go and acquire a 5th-round pick. This is what good owners do. They say, I don't give a damn about the money. I want to make my team better. That's exactly what this is. And I give the Dolphins full credit for that. A 5th-round pick does not sound sexy, but what if it turns into a Phillip Lindsay? What if it turns into an Antonio Brown? What if it turns into another one of these late-round guys that develops into something? I like the Dolphins doing this. As for the Rams...
not drafted, by the way.
I know. I'm aware. But he could have been with a 5th-round pick, and that was kind of my point.
Frank says cap space for Ramsey, and I get it, man. But I'm telling you right now, there's other ways of doing it besides release or trading a player away. If this was, I think it might have been a locker room.
Restructuring deals is the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Well,
but
it's not even restructuring deal. I mean, that is part of it, but there's other ways of doing it.
Sure,
there is tons of other ways of doing this. Besides, is it completely
I got a slushy.
frozen?
Yeah, I got a slushy.
That's awesome. Good old freezer.
I know you can hear the freezer in the background. At least you know it's doing its job because I have a brick of beer right now. I think it is cap space for Ramsey. It's also cap space in the future. They're getting out from underneath this contract that, in their opinion, Aqib Talib has lost a step and is perpetually injured. That's the problem with the Rams' kind of mentality or their kind of game plan for the past few years when all you do is bring in veterans. And we kind of talked about this with Kansas City off the record beforehand.
If you drank more premium-style beer like I am,
wouldn't have that problem.
It's just nice and cold.
Okay, good to know. I think the glass might have just got colder than the aluminum. That actually doesn't sound right. I don't know which gets colder. It's back me up. I don't know.
Science.
Yeah. Going back to the Aqib Talib thing, Drew.
Well, Jeremy says he's older and injured. Why not?
Is it a bad look, though? That's been their whole selling point. We're going to bring in all these veterans, right? We're going to trade all our picks away. We're going to bring in as many guys as we can. Picks don't matter. We want savvy defensive veterans, especially, that are going to come in and know how to play the game, and we're going to win a Super Bowl with experience. And then when you get one of these guys who gets hurt, you ship them off for nothing. Does that hurt that kind of mentality? Will that hurt them from signing free agents in the future, or is this just business as usual?
I do think it's business as usual. This isn't the first time this has happened. It is kind of closer to the first time it's happened to a kind of a big name for like someone like Talib, but I think it has more to do with probably some problems in the locker room. That would be my best guess. You're not going to be able to drink beer.
I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to keep going.
I should have brought you a straw. This is what's going to happen. He's going to get released more than likely. He's going to be able to get cleared to play because it's a rib injury. I highly doubt he's out for multiple weeks. If I'm wrong, guys, please let me know because I really don't know a lot about this injury, to be honest. It took me for a shock when I saw the trade that he is on the IR. I believe he'll more than likely be released. He'll probably be picked up by somebody. Hopefully the Chiefs. We need corner help. And he'll play. That'd be my best guess. There's a lot of rumors already out there that the Dolphins don't plan on playing him anytime soon.
To Jeremy's point where he said he's older and injured, why not? I say short term, this is a great move. Long term, I think it hurts your image where you have been the team that says we want these savvy veterans to come in. They brought in Aqib Talib to kind of, set the corner situation, him and Marcus Peters, if you remember, not too long ago. And now both of them are playing in other uniforms. I think this kind of shows the lack of loyalty from them. And I think as a free agent, I would reconsider signing with the Rams, especially when I've seen them struggle in year 2 under Sean McVay as opposed to year 1.
Frank says the Rams have a win-now mentality, though.
But the best franchises don't. Look at the Steelers. Look at the Patriots. Look at all of these teams that want to have sustained success. You don't sell out for 1 year. You don't say, this is our year, let's throw everything into the fire just to try to win a Super Bowl, because how often do you not?
Yeah.
You can come up short. I mean, look at Kansas City last year, and I'm not doing this to harp on your team, but they look like the team to beat, right? And then you have one bad game or even one bad half, and all that can go out the window. That's why good teams don't say, we're throwing it all into the fire, and this is it. I have one chance, and if we win, awesome. If we not, we're in rebuild mode. That's why I'm not crazy about the Rams' whole overall strategy, because we're starting to see the negative effects of that, in my opinion.
Though they've been to the Super Bowl last year.
And they didn't win it.
Lost.
Sure.
But you can say that a lot more than the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Chiefs.
The Steelers recently, but the Steelers have been good. And even
before
that, they have been good. And I get your point. They had success in that situation where they bought everything, but they still didn't win. And if you don't win, if you're not first, you're last, like Ricky Bobby says, right?
He knows what he's talking about.
If you don't win the Super Bowl, What are you doing? And I get it. They went and they lost. They didn't show up for that game. But now where are they? I mean, barely hanging on. They're third in their division. The division's looking good. You know who I've also said we're going to not sell out? Well, I take it back. The 49ers have tried to do that. Despite John Lynch's best efforts, they're still a good team. I just don't love the idea of I'm throwing everything I have to try to win one Super Bowl, and then the rest of the team's going to collapse after that. We're not here to win one Super Bowl. You're here to win every Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you have franchises like Alabama and you have franchises like the Patriots that perennially just keep things going. And I know college is a different game. That's why they're all good. And this is about to overflow. So your turn to talk.
Yeah, let's get into the next trade. Leonard Williams from the Jets got traded to the Giants for a third-round pick and a fifth-round 2021 fifth-round third and a
2021.
That's
fifth.
what I was going for. Yeah, too many 20s.
You know what the problem with this is? Expiring deals. The Giants just traded for a defensive tackle that is a great player in Leonard Williams, but maybe not like a game changer. Maybe not he's not Aaron Donald, who's going to go impact the pass half the time when he's out there, and that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. He's not going to go rush the quarterback. He's not going to go dominate physically on the offensive line. He's going to support the run. He's going to take away the middle of the football field. And going with their big D tackle out of Clemson, whose name is Dexter Lawrence, if I'm not mistaken. I like that move from that standpoint. I don't love giving up a third and a fifth round pick for a guy that's going to be a free agent at the end of this year, looking around at the rest of this Giants defense and saying, we suck. Why am I going to re-sign here when there could be a lot of other good teams willing to give me $10 million a year?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they can get a compensatory pick. That's the answer. But
I don't know why the Giants took it, though.
Because they can get a compensatory pick. And they're saying, even if he doesn't re-sign, even if he leaves, we get an extra pick in the draft. But the problem is, if that turns out to be like a sixth round, because your math doesn't add up.
Because third round's kind of high.
Yes. And you could get a third round pick. It won't happen from this Williams deal, but it all goes into the equation. I know I have to stop and drink.
I'm going to have to freeze your beers from now on because you have to stop and drink. Frank, yes. Thank you for the plug, man. We appreciate it. He asked if there's any new merchandise. Guys, if you are on Facebook, or please check us out on Facebook if you haven't, there is a tab in there that says shop. You go in there, you can check out some of our t-shirts. Buy them. You help Sports Around the Bar community. You help us stay on air a lot longer than what we plan on doing it, because I thought we were going to end after week 1. We did not. We're going on. What is? Come on, do your math.
223
episodes. Holy crap! I've only done 10 of them. So
yeah.
I appreciate it, but guys, yeah, check it out. That doesn't end it. We are not done. Increasing our merchandise. We're trying to do a lot more than just that. We unfortunately we had some fallbacks when we try to do this, but we will bring other stuff in there. Just an idea, and I don't want you guys to get excited, but just to think about it. Like koozies, stickers for like the car, stuff like that. These things will be coming in at some point in time. Just bear with us. Our most important thing as of right now is communicating with you guys and constantly being able to be on air and having everyone who decide to like Sports Around the Bar have an opportunity to listen and talk and literally become the community of Sports Around the Bar. That's our number one priority. As far as the merchandise goes, it was the outcry from you guys who have pushed us to do it, and we just wanted to put something out there for you to please you guys in a sense.
Absolutely. Back to football. That was a great plug. I'm not going to add to it because, again, I don't have time. My beer's going to fill up again because you froze it. Let's talk about the Satb Talib thing. It is
slowly just increasing every time. This is great.
I'm on the clock. Finally, with this Satb Talib thing, I want to go back to Jeremy's comment here. Perhaps. Sorry, Scott's comment here. He says, Talib strikes him as the kind of guy who would get a beat down by a guy with a ball bat in the offseason. He does seem like a punk to me too, Scott. But
he is a punk.
Every quarterback in the universe is a punk.
Yeah.
You have to be a punk
to
play that position because you're constantly getting crapped on. You're constantly when you mess up, everyone's looking at you. We're always like, dude, he's trash. He just gave up a touchdown. Everything else, you can play a great game, have one bad play, and everyone's like, you're a terrible player. You have to have that kind of fight and that kind of swagger to play cornerback in the NFL or at any level. You have to be a jerk. You just do.
I do want. Sorry, one more thing about merch, just because Will reminded it. I do want pictures of you guys wearing your T-shirts. Send it to us in Messenger. Get it. We want to do something with it. Just kind of brag. Hey, these are our fans. Look at these guys looking fly, wearing the shirts. So when you do buy your T-shirt and you get it in, wear it, take a picture of it, and send it to us so we can sit there and brag about how awesome you guys are.
Absolutely. Leonard Williams, again, Giants, perplexing move for a guy with an expiring contract. Jets, getting a 3rd and a 5th round pick out of a guy who's not going to be on your team next year.
You don't know that.
Sounds pretty good. Well, I do now that he's traded.
They have a lot of cap space.
The Giants do, but if you're Leonard Williams and you're a good player, and any team in the NFL is going to give you $10 million, are you playing for the Giants for 12?
Well, if the Giants give you 12, yeah, you are.
No, you're not. No,
Yes,
you're not.
you are.
You're going to say, I want to win. I love winning more than I love money,
you're
and I'm going to leave the Giants,
so
who aren't going to be doing that.
Because Daniel Jones, your guy, is going to win the Super
I love that
Bowl.
he's good, and now that he's my guy. If you remember, he was bad, and he was still my guy, so I appreciate that. But
thank you, Kenny. He says he appreciates us doing the show, and it's fun to watch every time. We appreciate it.
And Will also says, hey, who drafted Talib? Oh, yeah, that was Tampa Bay. And then you didn't hang on to him. You traded him for a song to the Patriots, and then he won a Super Bowl. Remember that? And then he went to Denver, and he was good there, too. And I think won a Super Bowl there, too? Was he on that Peyton Manning team?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he was.
Remember how, again,
His 2
props
rings.
to them for recognizing the talent.
For sure.
Kind of, I'm down on him for not hanging on to him. Even when it happened, they traded him for nothing to the Patriots. And I was like, what is Tampa Bay doing?
Kenny, we have not discussed Le'Veon Bell trying to be traded. As far as rumors go, Kenny, I think you can almost talk about any team or any player in a sense, maybe minus Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, everyone. There's a rumor everywhere you look across where a team could be possibly trading someone. That's not what pens are for.
I like my beer stirred, not shaken.
I could tell.
Just trying to break up this ice, man. Your freezer's trash. That's all I can say. Your freezer did its job too well, and I'm annoyed.
So, Kenny, that being said, no, we didn't talk about it. If you want to talk about it, ask a question. But to be honest, man, I don't think there's really news. I mean, every player, in my sense, is up for trade. It's kind of like, so when your team's losing and there's not a whole lot going on this year for you, teams will call you and ask you about players that are good on your team and see if they're available. This is where these rumors come from.
Yes, and again, with those rumors, everyone is asking about everybody.
Yeah.
There's always a price. Doesn't matter who you are. There's always a price. And well, maybe not anybody. Okay, you're not trading.
I already said that. For minus a few.
Minus a few. For most people, there's a price. So when the Jets are struggling, you better believe there's a bunch of teams that are like, I'm a running back away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're calling about Le'Veon Bell because if I can get the right price, I go and do it.
Right.
The reason I'll say I'm glad that he didn't go to the Chiefs. We talked about this beforehand because you said, man, it would be nice to have Le'Veon Bell in the Chiefs, and I agree.
I don't want him, but it would have been nice.
I agree. It's one of those situations that having a running back like that can help your team. But it comes down to what can I give up for him. They just gave up a lot of picks for Frank Clark. Mortgaging your future, just like I complained about with the Rams, usually turns out bad for a team. I give a lot of teams credit for staying away from that and not overpaying for a guy like Le'Veon Bell, who, even though he's a good running back, you have to pay him a huge contract. You got to find the cap space for that. You're going to have to commit multiple picks to him, probably first rounders, all for a guy that hasn't been very good this season. I don't love it. I really don't. Even though Le'Veon Bell's a good player, I don't know that necessarily he's the guy that sets you over the top, especially when you give up this much stuff. It's a good way to wreck your team.
Let's go on to the next trade. Kenyon Drake was traded to the Arizona Cardinals for a 6-rounder. What do you say for this? I mean, obviously
stacking the picks.
Getting the picks, but why would the Cardinals, is a 6-rounder worth giving up this year for Kenyon Drake when you have the likes
with Edmonds injured?
Hold on. When you have the likes of David Johnson, which I know he's hurt, Chase Edmonds, which I know he's hurt, who both seem to be reliable backs beyond being hurt.
This, to me, is about protecting Kyler Murray.
Okay.
This is about, we need some talent that can take the pressure off him. I know they didn't run the ball last week.
I was going to ask you
know
one thing before you answered, and this was,
sure.
Is this the Steve Wilkes ripple effect? Is this, I need to keep proving to the owners of Arizona that I made the right decision in Kyler Murray, because Kyler Murray with less weapons is not good.
Right. Well,
that was going to be my full question.
Define less less weapons, though. He had Christian Kirk.
Case Edmonds gone. David Johnson's gone. You need some kind of running back. That was why.
Yes, I'll buy that, but I don't know. Again, does he have that many more weapons that are just killing the game that Josh Rosen didn't have for the Cardinals? No, I don't think so. This is about protecting him and saying we don't want to put too much on a rookie quarterback's shoulders, so we'll give up a 6th-round pick and we'll just say that it's not a big deal. I really do believe that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm there too. I had to ask you that because I feel like it kind of is the butterfly effect of Steve Wilkes being let go in less than a year as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I cannot allow my quarterback to not have weapons and flourish to show that I made the right decision to pick Kyler Murray because, remember, they picked Josh Rosen.
They did.
And he flopped. They're like, I'm going to give up a 6th-rounder or talk them into giving up a 6th-rounder, bring in someone like Kenyon Drake because let's talk about 2020. What about that season? Does Kenyon Drake find himself a home with the backfield of Chase Edmonds and David Johnson in the Arizona Cardinals locker room?
Maybe ahead of Chase Edmonds, yeah.
I mean,
he could be David
Edmonds
Johnson's
just had a great game.
One.
No.
You know who else had a great game? Jonas Gray. And what did Jonas Gray do?
Let me rephrase that. He has had a decent season because he's a backup running back who found the end zone for multiple weeks in a row.
The question is, what do you believe Kenyon Drake is? And I know he was drafted pretty highly. You know, there was a lot of hype going in around him. He's been one of those guys that in Miami is never lived up to the hype, which is like every Miami skill position player ever. But my question is always going to be, Drew, does the 6th-round pick, is that too much to pay? Again, you don't want to lose these picks. If this was a swap, I would love it a lot more. I give credit to the Dolphins here. They're saying we're all in on this rebuild. Let's get every pick we can. We're going to take like 15 guys in the draft. I'm exaggerating, but they're going to take like 10. And then we're going to do everything we can to try to refresh this roster right away. You add a couple free agents to that, which will be difficult because the team sucks, but if you overpay for them, they might want to go live down in Miami. Thank God they're a sexy city instead of Kansas City or Tennessee or take your Buffalo, take your pick. This might be one of the fastest turnarounds in the NFL. In the NFL, you don't usually have to wait long, but because they're making these moves, I think Miami won this trade. As for Arizona, this is all about protecting him. Does he find a home? Yes, he does. I don't know that Chase Edmonds beats out Kenyon Drake straight up. I just don't.
Rob, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Chad says his Niners are going to beat them down, especially Bosa going beast mode and a Buckeye all the way from Ohio. He's talking already about Thursday night. I don't want to get too far into it, but just because Chad asked about it, I mean, you've been preaching or complaining more than likely about the primetime games the NFL has given us so far.
And what
Does
another
Thursday night get you excited at all?
Well, I do want to watch the 49ers play. And I'm with Chad. They are going to absolutely maul the Arizona Cardinals. And then I'm going to sit down for another 3.5 hours, stand up afterward and say, why did I just watch that all the way through?
The Cardinals don't have a chance.
They have a chance in the sense that it's a divisional game and they have Kyler Murray. But if you watch the 49ers defense, you know this team's dominant on that side of the ball. They have no offensive line in Arizona. Kenyon Drake is going to be their running back more than likely. Even if he doesn't start this week, they have no options at running back then. They have no offensive line. This is all 49ers. Just don't mess this one up. This is all 49ers. And this is another game that when you talk about Seattle and you talk about the Rams being threats in this division, that they're going to go and beat up on the Cardinals. This is one you can't afford to lose. I think the 49ers are going to win it easy. They're going to be able to run at will. They're going to be able to throw at will. They're going to be able to play to rush the passer at will. There's not a single thing I can point to except for Kyler Murray and his explosiveness that I say there might be a chance that the Cardinals have to surprise this team. And not even win, surprise this team.
I mean, the Cardinals are winning some games.
But are they winning this game?
I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying, I asked, do they have a chance? You said they kind of do. What happens to the Niners and all this hype around them if the Cardinals come out and beat the 49ers?
It continues, and we say it's a bad. It continues, and we say that it was a bad game. In division, we say it's a bad game, right? That's what I'm going to say.
Because you're right, it is a division rival.
Absolutely, and I think that's the biggest thing. Do the 49ers stack up well against the Cardinals? Yes, on every facet on paper, sure, but it's still the NFL. Because you can win any single game in the NFL.
I don't know if you
especially
mentioned it,
in division.
You brought about the 49ers defense, but the Arizona Cardinals have a decent defense. They have Chandler Jones who can get after the quarterback. They have Patrick Peterson who can create turnovers. I mean, I'm not saying this is a world-beating defense.
And Jordan Hicks, and that's about it. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a world-beating defense, but
Right.
this defense can cause havoc.
Sure. But I'll give you this. Aside from Jimmy G throwing this game away and Kyler Murray playing, out of his mind, and they say, oh, this is the reason we took him number one overall. He needs to put on a clinic. This needs to be 350 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. I need to see some rushing yards. It's all on his back. The problem is they can't protect him. They can't play any. Their offensive line is going to get mauled against this defensive front that has spent pick after pick after pick trying to win in the trenches, and eventually it worked out. And that's exactly what I've said about the 49ers for years now. Eventually it's going to work out. We're now seeing the fruits of that. I think the 49ers are by far the best team. We'll talk about that. I think we're doing a good job talking about it. Who are you taking here?
I'm going to take the Niners. I think the Niners win this game. I don't think there's much to say about it. I think it's pretty much said and done.
And Chad says, nope, not going to happen. They, being the 49ers, have some of the best running backs in Breida and Coleman. I'm with you that they're both very good. I think more than that, it's the system that helps those guys out. I think Kyle Shanahan is the reason this team's offense has exploded the way it has. And I'm with you. They're going to run better. They're going to pass better. They're going to play defense better. Does it come down to special teams? I don't think special teams is going to be enough here.
No.
I don't think one special teams play turns this. I think the Cardinals get blown out, and we get to watch another terrible primetime game in the NFL. It's time we get on the flex schedule. I think the flex schedule needs to start earlier because this has been unbearable. Drew?
Ken, thank you for the update. He says the Houston Astros are ahead 2-1 in the third. Let's just talk about it real quick.
Let's talk about the Astros and how they're going to win, like I predicted, but that doesn't make me special because as soon as they traded for their third ace in Zach Greinke, 96% chance that they win this thing?
Yeah.
I said the same thing in the Yankees. I said the same thing going into this. I was even saying it when they were down 2-0. I was like, the Astros are still going to be fine. I don't know if they win tonight, but even if they do, it's going to be Scherzer going in Game 7. Maybe the Washington Nationals have a chance here. I like Strasburg matching up against them, but I just don't think talent-wise the Nationals are as good as the Astros are. We're going to see a team buy the World Series, which is not new for baseball. That's a dig on the Red Sox. That's a dig on the Yankees. That's a dig on all the teams like the Dodgers that are paid to get there.
Times I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. Baseball, you can buy championships. That's exactly what happened when the Astros traded for Greinke. They bought the championship, and I'll give them credit. They've lived up to the hype. They haven't folded under the pressure. This is a team that more than likely will win, fall apart when Garrett Cole leaves next year. And we're going to be talking about it one and done.
He'll be wearing pinstripes.
One and done, yeah. And they're going to pay him absurdly. And then we'll be talking about the Yankees buying a championship next year. Welcome to baseball. There's a reason this is one of the lowest watched World Series in MLB history. Only 11 million viewers according to Nielsen. Does baseball have a problem?
No. I mean, it's what baseball is.
Just perpetually going to keep slowly declining as people stop worrying about baseball?
As the world gets more violent, they want to see violent sports.
Bring back where they can rock the catcher, and I'll watch it, because some of those hits were insane. Now that you can't touch the guy, and you can't block the plate, that's tough. A couple more here.
Thanks, Chad. See you, man.
Scott also says right now he couldn't name 5 baseball players. Garrett Cole, I gave you that one. I gave you Zach Greinke, Justin Verlander.
Oh, he wasn't listening to you.
He wasn't listening to me? Well, then, yeah, you're probably going to struggle to name 5. I was going to say, I think I named 3. I helped you out a little bit. Can't even name 5 Yankees? You can't give me anyone?
Kenny is demanding a discussion. He wants to know how much longer does Drew Brees have? Playing or at elite level?
Or alive. What are we talking about here?
At elite level, to be honest, I think Sean Payton and the way he can create an offense, he can play as long as he possibly wants at elite level.
But kind of like Brady, we're seeing the arm strength start to go away.
But I think they're already adapting around it. You got Kamara, you got Murray, where they're running the ball a lot more than what they were prior.
And a lot of teams with older quarterbacks are trying to go to that. I can't wait to see the Steelers and the Chargers start to go. Well, even the Chargers have done it. Eckler, you've seen Melvin Gordon come on.
Right.
They're going to it. They need to get that offensive line fixed, but as soon as they do that, it's going to be the same scenario. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team that haven't really done that. Yeah. The Giants tried with Eli. It didn't work, but they tried.
Right.
I think when you talk about Drew Brees, he's got 3, 4, 5 more years if they keep him protected. The question is, can you keep an offensive line playing at a top-tier level, or at least a good enough level? They need to be somewhere around 10th to protect your 40-year-old quarterback. If they're not, we're going to be talking about Drew Brees hurt, and it's time to move on, and is Teddy the answer, or is Taysom Hill the guy, or is it time to draft somebody? They got a lot of questions behind that, because they've got but they're in the right spot where they've got a lot of guys that could be the guy, as opposed to the Bengals where like it's Ryan Finley, but is it really Ryan Finley?
No. Ian wants to know, does Drew Brees end it like Eli Manning's situation?
Where they're just like, Eli, just go home. No, I don't think so. I think he'll hang it up with a little more class than that. I think
Eli's not done
for
playing.
the past 5 years, Eli is like third in turnovers.
Eli's not done playing. Another team is going to pick him up. He's not done. When Drew Brees decides to hang it up, it's because Drew Brees is done.
And Frank's saying 3 years at the most. I could see him hanging it up, but I think these guys are all competitive. He's going to want to get to at least to Brady's level, where he's 42, and Brady's still going. I think a lot of it depends on how long Brady plays. And the most real I can be with you is how long can you keep him safe? Because when you get to that age, you're not going to be able to take the hits. Breeze plays as long as the offensive line stays good in New Orleans. And they know that. There's a reason they're going to keep investing in it. There's a reason losing Max Unger in this offseason was as big of a deal as it was, because they have a 40-year-old quarterback that's not going to be able to take the same kind of hits that a 28-year-old quarterback's going to take.
Scott says the NBA and the NFL, with better athletes, it kills baseball. Baseball is an old man sport. I'm telling you right now, after Game 6 in the 7th inning where I saw 2 pair of boobies, it's still a young man sport, Scott.
You're going to be watching a lot of baseball till you see that happen again. I'm with Scott. They need to speed it up. The problem is the old blood in baseball, and we're not going to go into this because this is a 3.5-year conversation. The problem with baseball is they have too many guys that are quote-unquote old blood, that want things to be done the way they've been done, and we don't ever want to change, and it's tradition, and nobody can have any fun. You can't flip your baseball bats when you hit a home run. It's garbage. It is 100% garbage. And this is from a guy that grew up playing the sport. I've loved baseball forever, but it's what's holding baseball back. They need to get faster. They need to get more dynamic. They need to get more exciting. Until they do that, you're absolutely right. They can't compete with the NBA. They can't compete with the NFL, especially the NFL. They can't compete with these faster sports. Eventually, you're going to see hockey overtake them. As soon as people turn hockey on and they're like, hey, wait a minute. This is pretty entertaining. Baseball's dead. That's exactly what it is. They need to get faster.
I agree.
Like I said, 3.5-hour conversation, but we're not going to go into it.
Scott says, look at the ratings.
Exactly, and it's going to keep going.
Wow.
It's their lowest since 2012. I think part of it's because the Yankees aren't in it. You don't have the Red Sox. You don't have the Dodgers. They've had these massive markets here that probably watch for that. That being said, baseball in its local markets still beats the NBA. So what does that tell you? Nationally, the basketball is more popular, but in the markets where there's both baseball and basketball, ratings-wise, baseball still beats it.
Ian says the MLB will always attract players because of high money guaranteed contracts.
Yeah, and they get a lot of foreign players that are coming from places like the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and take your pick. They come from a lot of smaller, more impoverished nations where all you need is a stick and something to hit, and you can practice baseball.
Wow.
Basketball is kind of the same way. It is. I mean, if you look at it, you're not practicing hockey like that. You're not practicing football like that where you need a bunch of pads and everything.
You can still hit each other.
You could, but reasonably, it takes a lot more to get your kid playing football or playing hockey than it does playing basketball, soccer, or baseball. And I think that's what's also going to help the sport continue to thrive and keep getting players.
Well, let's go into our last topic of the night. The NCAA has agreed and voted on to allow players to make money on their name and likeness during their time in college.
Finally.
Finally.
Oppression struck down. Does anyone like the NCAA? Does anyone look at the NCAA like, man, those guys are smart. They're doing such a great job by those kids that are sacrificing their lives and their well-being to make money for these colleges?
The only thing they did right, in my opinion, is the NCAA college basketball tournament. That's the only thing they've ever done right.
Give me an NCAA college football tournament. We'll talk.
Just like that. But
64 teams.
Hey, I'm okay with it.
What I will say about this,
why not?
This is the right move.
Hold on.
And I'm going to talk about this with Hannah tomorrow.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not 64 teams?
Why even play a season? Just do 128.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Because who plays who, Drew? Who plays who?
It's all random.
It's all random. You know, that's not a bad idea.
I mean, why not?
I don't know. And like Ian says, thank you, California. Yes, props to California for doing something right at the legislative level and forcing them to talk about this. Thank you to South Carolina for being the second domino to fall. This is something that I think for the first time in a long time it's been a long time coming, right? How long have we talked about college athletes need to get paid? This isn't them getting paid by the schools. Right. But what this is the school
make sure
saying...
very clarified because a lot of people don't understand that. The college, the NCAA, none of them are paying them. That's still illegal, and that is still finable, and that is still they can lose championships, they can get banned from college, coaches can lose their jobs. All that is still illegal. These players can take their likeness and their name and go to the local cars dealership and get paid by them for doing ads and stuff like that. Now, as far as I know, and I got to read more into this because I'm not 100% sure since this change, can the NCAA or that college pay to put their name in...
Pay for their advertisements.
Yeah,
yes.
So that's something that we'd have to know about. But so far, this is a huge step in the right direction.
And Frank is 100% right. You got to wait to see the restrictions that they're going to put on this because, again, it's all in the fine print.
Right.
But right now, this is the right move. And I think the NCAA has been super tyrannical, saying, not only can we not pay you, and you're going to play for free when we're giving you free college, which reasonably, what am I paying for? You're setting up a chair, and there's like a hotel room. If you're not using it, if you're not selling it, it's not worth anything. I look at this.
That's what Kenny says. He means they already got free college. It's strange.
But how many of them finish?
But
how many of them are there to play sports? How many of them are there to move on to the next level? And you're saying you're not allowed to make any money.
But they're not the only ones that are getting free college. You can get a violin scholarship and get free college. They're not the only one getting free college. The thing is, these guys are doing a little bit different than other one. And I don't only say guys, even women are sitting there sacrificing their body for a sport that they do love. But the NCAA and the college that they play for are making millions and millions of dollars off of their blood and sweat. That's my
exactly. And again, this isn't just football. This isn't just basketball. This isn't just the guys you've heard of. This is the rowing team.
Yeah.
Maybe the rowing team just won state, and one of these local businesses says, "Hey, why don't you be on my commercial? Why don't I be able to put a billboard of you saying buy my cars or shop at this place or eat at this restaurant because I like you and I want to be affiliated with you and the community likes you." There's no reason to me why this shouldn't have happened a long time ago. I give, like Ian said, credit to California, credit where it's due. Credit for them for forcing this to happen because they were definitely the catalyst for it. I think this is a good thing. I know there are going to be old blood people that I just talked about in baseball from college football that are upset that this might change the balance of power in sports. I don't care. I don't care about the balance of power in sports. I care about doing what's right, and this is what's right for these kids.
Yeah,
and that's what they are. They're 18, 19-year-olds that are applying their trades and their crafts and what they're trying to be in life. And the colleges are telling them, you're not allowed to make money doing that. We can decide how much you're able to make and what you get. That's not right. That's not what America is.
Hey guys, I just want to throw it out there. If you guys are watching us on any other platform or off of a different page that someone shared, we just want to let you know we are Sports Around the Bar. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on tons of other podcasts. Give us a like. Give us a share. Give us a comment. Let us know you're out there. We love talking sports with you, and we want to be able to reach you and be able to obviously have you become part of the Sports Around the Bar community.
It's a fun show today. Tuesday's always our variety show. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about college football. I'll be here with Hannah. Maybe Drew will stop in to talk about this NCAA thing if he's feeling up to it. If not, that's okay too. He will be back on Friday to talk NFL with you. We're going to go over all of these games before they happen. We'll get our latest injury news. We'll give our latest predictions. It's going to be something that if you guys want to talk about your team, that's the day to do it. Even if you're on bye and you want to talk about your division rivals, you want to tell me that the Texans are garbage and the Colts are garbage, and the Titans are the best team in the NFL, or something else. If you want to flip that, I think Kenny did at least once. Friday's your day for that. We're also going to be back on Sunday to talk about it. Always 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central. We're Sports Around the Bar. I'm Drew. No, I'm not. I'm Jake. This is Drew.
Jesus. And thank you so much. We do have merch, guys. If you want a Sports Around the Bar t-shirt, by all means, check it out. It helps us immensely, but we just want you here. That's the biggest priority at Sports Around the Bar is creating a community where all you guys have a voice in what gets talked about and to be part of the show.
Absolutely, 100%. We will be back again tomorrow. We hope to see you there. So for Sports Around the Bar, I am Jake. This is Drew. And we'll see you next time.
See you.